I do firmly believe that those who do not have the greatest benefit from the culture tend to have less investment in the culture. And, and we tend to look at things as being so seedy, the reasons that things happen. In a therapy culture, you look for the therapeutic reason that everything happens. You don't look for the eudaimonic reason. And so what I talk a lot about the perfection argument, where, the teacher argues against your perfection, for your perfection, you argue against it, and they always win is how it goes. They have to, unless they're shitty teachers, because they have the truth behind them, and that is that we are all perfect with room to evolve. In fact, but it's funny, I used to teach that, and boy, it was so incredible how passion, like every debate skill, every passion that somebody had, they would employ into convincing me of their imperfection, which was so funny. When you move into Eros, you shift your center of gravity to a zone otherwise unknown. And really, if you were to say the zone itself, it's Eros, but nobody really knows what that means. They just think it's like Cupid or something, or whatever it is, it's red. We know it's red. And so then, but it really is, if it's anything, it's eudaimonic. And I think we are entering the eudaimonic era in history, where, and what that is it's the creative era. To go from the fixed era to the creative era, from the linear to the non-linear. And then I would say the third aspect of this era is that rather than looking for the right, rather than looking for the problem, but rather than looking for the diagnosis, rather than looking for the symptom, rather than looking at things as symptoms of a malady, when that is the mandala that you live in, when you live in a mandala based in therapy, based in a problem, based in the fundamental notion of suffering, you're going to have a much different worldview than you would if you looked at the world creatively. In a creative reality, there is not a problem. There are obstacles, but there are problems. And you define everything according to the potential. So if you have a Rosetta Stone, the Rosetta Stone is going to define it according to the potential for what? The potential for play. Because you have gotten all of the problem solving out of the way, because you've just determined, oh no, there are no problems. There are only obstacles. Those obstacles are there for the purpose of greater play. That's a eudaimonic mindset. And that's what we're looking to build. It's extraordinarily resilient. So I say all that to say that you often hear, or one often hears, anybody who's read any sort of critique about Black culture, examination about Black culture, when you hear the ascription that people have as to why Black culture has heightened sexuality. It's seen through a therapeutic lens, and it's seen as Black men and women were separated from each other, and the Black women would have to be open and available to the white master, and the Black men couldn't form proper white people attachment according to the Christian. Because whenever you face something, you learn these things in semantics, but so whenever something is given to you as a given, you have to say according to what metric. And so if you're putting Black culture or white culture, Black culture or feminine culture or gay culture, the marginalized cultures, any people of culture, color culture, against a metric, you have to look at what the metric is, because the marginalized are always marginalized because they've fallen short of meeting the metric that is seen as a universal, unalterable, inherent reality that exists throughout time as a fixed source. But we all know nothing is fixed, everything is impermanent, it's all dynamic. So that's not real. But it positions itself, or it poses itself as real. So then you say, okay, so then what is the metric? Most people, it's the invisible backpack that we carry that we don't unzip, open up and look. What is this? Where did it come from? How did I get this view? Why does this view seem so baked in that it's right? And why does this view seem so baked in that it's wrong? You know, I talked yesterday, it seems so baked in that a sexual woman is evil. That's just a baked in notion in our culture. You don't even realize it until you're up here in abstraction, you're seeing how they talk about Kim Kardashian. And it's like, of course you would talk about her that way. She's a whore. Like, and of course you would feel justified talking about her that way. And of course you would presume these other things, that she's not very intelligent, that she's self-aggrandizing, that the whole series of things, because she's got tits and an ass, right? I send these things to my friend Amy sometimes because it's just, I don't know, it's so charming to me and so astonishing. These women who say, I'll send her back-to-back ones too, like a Black woman who says, I love dick. Now, you don't see a lot of white women saying that. Or, I only stayed with him for the dick. Now, you really don't see a lot of white women saying that. There are whole lists of things that Black women are saying that I don't think most of the culture realizes are earth-shattering, and to my mind, and this is why we have worked together for as long as we have, because you were willing to collaborate with me on this idea. That is why Black women will be the human beings who usher in the next era of consciousness. It is that shamelessness that is rooted in, we call it Vajra pride in Buddhism, but I would call it elemental nobility. Elemental nobility. You know, you just look at the future, and that's the wave of the future, a culture that has not been corrupted by white guilt around sex. That does not have the same biblical reliance for a standard set of metrics on what is virtue. And because of that, you have this thriving creative force within the Black community. You know, I live here in Harlem, so I can't speak to the whole Black community, but I can speak of how it is in Harlem, where it is alive. It's animated. It's connected. You know, there's a lot of music. There's a lot of music. It's coming out of every door. Everywhere. People walking with a huge speakers. I said, there was a guy the other day. He was walking with a huge speaker boombox, but playing soft jazz. I was like, I wish I had the courage to walk with a huge boombox of soft jazz. You know, this other guy had Anita Baker on, and it's just, it's amazing. I do believe that the next era will be the creative eudaimonic era brought in through sexual energies, and that the primary keepers of sexual energies on the planet, the skillful sexual energies, are Black women. And so it's just obvious how it has to work. And I think it will balance things. I think you see a lot of teacupness in white culture with white women, where you know, I love the thing about the teacup. Sorry, white women. I'm one of you, so I'm just the only way I do what I do is I keep my focus on the bodhicitta and where we have to go, because you know, I'm a white woman. I want to be on the cool team too. You know, at the foundation of everything that I do is the notion of dignity, and that with the molecule of dignity, the natural nobility in any people will enliven, and I just believe that the people who are furthest from the margins are the most noble. And so you enliven those people, and then the movement can naturally go forward. My work is to take kind of the discarded and add in dignity. That's all you have to do. It's not much more than that. You add in dignity, and then they naturally transform into the daimonic expression of genius that they are. If it were up to me, every woman would have a daily sexual practice in order to progressively increase the enlivening of her body, first for herself, then that she can emanate it for others, then eventually, hopefully, that she could take in whatever comes her way to feed it. You know, that's the Venus model.
Right.
In Italy, at the Temple of Venus. That's what they did. You know, and isn't it so funny that that is considered the shameful thing? Oh, those bad prostitute women. By the way, the word is actually kadosh, which means holy, but was translated to prostitute. They were so evil, feeding people. Just whatever.
Right.
It's a nuts world.